I'm Joanna Small, the Public Information Officer for the Wheat Ridge Police Department. It's Friday, February 24th, and this is your WRPD Video Week in Review. Here's a summary of some of the most notable calls your Wheat Ridge patrol officers responded to over this past week or so, as well as some cases our detectives could really use your help in resolving. On February 22nd, Wheat Ridge patrol officers were called to assist a regional task force in the apprehension of an Arapahoe County bank robbery suspect. The suspect was located at a Wheat Ridge motel inside a vehicle and was taken into custody without incident. On February 21st, officers responded to a Wheat Ridge hotel for an individual who refused to leave the property and was causing a disturbance there. When we arrived, we discovered he had multiple warrants for his arrest, and he was also in possession of a controlled substance, as well as debit and ID cards not belonging to him. He was trespassed from the property, cited for the drug charges, and jailed on the warrants. Also on February 21st, a concerned community member called 911 to report a suspicious vehicle at his apartment complex. It was occupied, and the caller was concerned the person inside it was attempting to steal it. When we got there, we found the driver passed out in the driver's seat, the car left running, and drug paraphernalia in plain view. The car was not stolen, but when we roused the driver, we learned he had a felony drug warrant out of Adams County. A search of the vehicle revealed the aforementioned paraphernalia, as well as methamphetamine and fentanyl. He was issued a summons for the drugs and transported to the Jefferson County Jail on the warrant. On February 20th, officers were called to a disturbance in the 3600 block of Ames Street. We learned one of the involved parties had left the area and was intoxicated. Officers located him in his vehicle in a nearby park. He failed roadside tests for driving under the influence, and his blood alcohol level through a breath test was determined to be 3 times the legal limit to drive. He is facing DUI charges and was released that night to a detox facility. On February 19th, officers contacted a driver on the I-70 frontage road at Garrison Street, whose vehicle was partially blocking traffic. It had no license plates. The driver was found to have no insurance. The vehicle was unregistered, and the driver had no driver's license. He was also found to be in possession of drugs and drug paraphernalia. The vehicle was towed, and the driver is now facing a slew of traffic charges, and he was cited for the drugs and drug paraphernalia as well. That same shift on February 19th, officers also responded to a motor vehicle crash on westbound I-70 around Marshall Street. A tow truck lost control and struck the crash cushion that covers the end of the concrete barrier on the left side of the highway. The driver fled the crash on foot and later attempted to report his truck as stolen to the Denver Police Department. The cushion broke into many pieces that scattered across the westbound lanes of the highway, and at least 2 uninvolved vehicles struck debris. Our team of detectives is working to positively identify the driver and determine what charges he will face. On February 19th, officers responded to an incident that took place earlier in the week. The people involved told our officers their dog chased a skunk, and they shot the skunk in the head. It's illegal to shoot any wildlife, and discharging a weapon in the city limits is prohibited as well. The person who fired that shot was issued a summons for the illegal discharge. If you have any issue with wildlife on your property, please call our community services team 303-235-2926. Again, on February 19th, officers were dispatched to a stolen motor vehicle report that turned out to have a little more to it. A vehicle valued at about $10,000 was stolen from a construction business. We were then called back to the same business complex, but a different business a short time later, for a burglary report. We returned and learned in addition to the motor vehicle theft, there was also a break-in at that other business. Officers determined one of the business doors appeared to have been forced open, possibly by a kick. The business owner told us that someone had deleted all of the surveillance footage that may have captured the break-in, but fortunately, nothing with the exception of the vehicle from the other business was stolen. On February 18th, officers responded to reports of an identity theft that started when someone in a vehicle tried to cash a fraudulent or stolen check at one of our Wheat Ridge banks for $2,400. Officers located the vehicle in question, and one of the people in it admitted to the crime. She also had in her possession a number of ID cards, checks, and social security cards, as well as passports that did not belong to her. The suspect had multiple warrants for her arrest. She was jailed on those warrants and will face charges for the other crimes. We'd also like to revisit an incident that appeared as a standalone post on our social media earlier this week. This sweet girl, 4-year-old Shiloh, was found abandoned inside a unit at the Newgate Apartments. The manager went to check on the resident who lived there when he was no longer paying his rent and discovered the dog, likely just in time to get her the medical care that she needed. She was emaciated and in bad shape, but is now recovering at a local animal hospital. The owner could face charges, but first we need to locate him. We do know who he is, and we're asking him to come forward, either by walking into our lobby or reaching out to us at the number that's listed there on your screen. Thank you to that vigilant manager who found Shiloh and intervened. Now here are 2 cases our detectives could really use your eyes on, so please take a look at your screen. On February 11th, officers were called to the 7300 block of West 38th Avenue in reference to a criminal trespass. The reporting party's vehicle window was broken out and he witnessed the crime. He confronted the person responsible but was concerned he may have spotted a gun. The suspect fled from the victim, who then called us. A separate report was filed from the same apartment complex from that same day. Another resident had a confrontation with someone who was attempting to break into a vehicle. Additionally, a third resident noticed the front bumper of her vehicle and the cover of one of her rear taillights was missing. Later, the resident from the first report brought a black BB gun and a large pry bar to the police department, explaining he found these items in his vehicle with a shattered window. The suspect is described as approximately 6'1", white, with tattoos on both arms, and he was wearing a red shirt, blue jeans, and carrying a backpack at the time of the crimes. If you believe you have any pertinent information about him or the incidents, please call our investigative team at the number that's there on your screen. In between your calls for service, officers proactively patrolled areas that are higher in crime, making contacts with people for less serious crimes like trespassing, that then often lead to arrests for things like protection order violations, warrants, and drugs and/or drug paraphernalia. They did traffic enforcement in parts of our city where we know dangerous driving is a problem, issuing about 24 citations. They also recovered 8 stolen vehicles, 3 in just one shift. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. And remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.